In early of 1868, the House of Representatives voted on articles of impeachment against Johnson. Then he is going to be put on trial before the Senate, where he narrowly avoided conviction by one vote. Technically, he had not actually violated the law because he had not appointed Stanton, Lincoln had, so he was able to deny committing any crime since it wasn't his actual appointment. Also, the problem was it wasn't actually a constitutional law. The Tenure of Office Act later is going to go before the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court decided that, hey, actually the cabinet, they only have to be confirmed by the Senate, but you don't have to have any sort of thing to fire them. That had always been at will by the president, and if you remember, it was George Washington who came up with the whole idea of the cabinet. So basically what we're going to have is motives and a lot of political motivations. The Republicans wanted Plan B as a president. They actually wanted Ulysses S. Grant to become president. He, however, didn't actually know if he was a Democrat or Republican yet at this time. So the next president, the next person who was in line to be president was President pro tempore of the Senate, who was a radical Republican named Benjamin Wade. So they were, like I said, one vote away from a two-thirds majority on the 11 articles of impeachment that they brought against Johnson, and 7 voted not guilty, 1 vote short. So he's going to be impeached but not convicted, and it is really important because basically what we did in that moment was avoid a dangerous precedent, and that was a dangerous precedent for removal of any president who could not command a majority in the House on an important issue. If we had just continued down this path, it would mean that basically if any time a president had political opposition, whether or not he actually had broken the law, he would have been removed, convicted from office. So, 1868. So in 1868, it's a presidential election year, and which party is going to capture General Grant was the big question, and he decided that he was a Republican. The Democrats put forth a candidate. His name was Horatio Seymour, but Grant wins the election. He was fairly young, only 46 when he became president, but he was a very bad president. First is he was real dumb. He was dumber than a box of rocks. Second, he was not a very good judge of character. He was actually extremely honest, and which is a good thing, but he expected that everyone else was honest too. He was very, very trusting, way too trusting, and he attracted dishonest friends and people who wanted to take advantage of him. He also didn't really see the presidency as a job, but as a reward for winning the Civil War. Which, I mean, I understand the temptation, like it's pretty awesome, you won the Civil War, but he wasn't exactly up to the task. So he's going to be way in over his head. He'd actually failed as a young man at a lot of different things, including working as a clerk for his brother-in-law before he was discovered as he's actually really good at this military stuff. But the Grant administration is actually going to be the biggest time of corruption in U.S. history. But weirdly, he was probably the only honest person in his administration. Again, like I said, just a lot of bad people around him because he had no judge of character. So he's going to get into office and he's going to be faced with military reconstruction. And at this point, the states start to ratify the 14th Amendment, and in the South, though, about 98% of the men couldn't vote because they had aided in the rebellion.